He gave himself one of the longest titles in history. His Excellency, President for Life, Field Marshal Al-Hadji Dr. Idi Amin Dada VC, DSO, MC, Lord of all the beasts of the earth and fishes of the seas, and conqueror of the British Empire and Africa in general, and Uganda in particular. He wasn't joking, and by the time Uganda realized what kind of man had taken power, it was already too late. Idi Amin was born around 1925 in northwestern Uganda. He came from the Kakwa ethnic group. His mother was a local herbalist. His father abandoned the family when Idi was a child. He never received a formal education. He could barely read when he joined the British colonial army in 1946. But Idi Amin had something school couldn't teach. He was enormous, 6'4", built like a tank, and he had a natural, disarming charm that made people trust him instantly. He was funny, warm, he laughed loudly and often. The British loved him. They promoted him fast. By 1961, just before Uganda's independence, he was one of only 2 black Ugandan officers in the entire army. He was also a national sports hero. Amin was Uganda's light heavyweight boxing champion for 9 consecutive years. He swam, he played rugby. He was, by every physical measure, an extraordinary human specimen. Then, Uganda gained independence in 1962 under Prime Minister Milton Obote. Obote kept Amin close. He made him army commander. That was mistake number 1. By the late 1960s, Obote and Amin had a falling out. Obote suspected Amin of stealing army funds and running illegal ivory and gold smuggling operations in the Congo. He was right. In January 1971, Obote flew out of Uganda to attend a Commonwealth conference in Singapore. Idi Amin seized the moment. On January 25, 1971, military units loyal to Amin took over the airport, the radio station, and key government buildings in Kampala. By morning, the country had a new ruler. And Ugandans, many of them celebrated. The streets flooded with people cheering. Amin had a reputation as a simple man of the people, not a corrupt politician. He promised democracy. He promised elections. He smiled and laughed and posed for photos. The world was charmed. But within weeks, the mask began to slip. Here is the part most people skip, because the full truth about Idi Amin is more disturbing than simple evil. He genuinely connected with ordinary Ugandans in ways that previous leaders never did. He walked through markets without heavy security. He sat with farmers. He ate local food. He spoke in simple language people understood. He increased the salaries of soldiers and low-ranking government workers early in his rule. He built roads and schools in rural areas that had been neglected. He promoted black Ugandans into positions that had been dominated by foreigners during the colonial era. He was fiercely anti-colonial at a time that message resonated deeply across Africa. When he expelled Asian business owners and declared Uganda's economy must belong to Ugandans, many Africans across the continent cheered, not just in Uganda, across the whole continent. Leaders like Muammar Gaddafi of Libya praised him. The Organization of African Unity elected him chairman in 1975. He stood on an international stage and said what many post-colonial African leaders were privately thinking. So why did it all go so catastrophically wrong? Because Amin's vision had no plan behind it, no system, no structure, just raw, reactive impulse. The businesses he seized were handed to cronies who ran them into the ground. The army he empowered became a tool for personal terror. The nationalism he preached became tribalism and paranoia. Good intentions, if they were ever truly there, collapsed under the weight of absolute power. Amin's secret police, the State Research Bureau, became one of the most feared organizations in African history. People taken to their Kampala headquarters rarely returned. Soldiers from Obote's ethnic groups were systematically eliminated. Judges who ruled against the government disappeared. Journalists who asked the wrong questions vanished. Bodies were found in the Nile, dumped in forests. Some were fed to crocodiles. That is not legend, that is documented fact. Between 100,000 and 500,000 Ugandans were killed during his 8-year rule. A country of 10 million people, 500,000 dead. And yet, somehow, international condemnation was slow because Amin was entertaining. He was quotable. He sent bizarre telegrams to world leaders. He declared himself a doctor and a field marshal with no qualifications for either. He claimed to have defeated the British, then offered to be King of Scotland. The world laughed, while Uganda wept. In June 1976, Palestinian and German hijackers seized an Air France plane and landed it at Entebbe airport in Uganda. Over 100 Jewish and Israeli hostages were held there. Amin welcomed the hijackers. He visited the hostages. He made speeches. He posed for photos. He thought he was a revolutionary hero. On the night of July 3rd, Israeli special forces flew 4,000 kilometers in secret. They landed at Entebbe in darkness, and in under 90 minutes, they killed all the hijackers, freed almost all the hostages, and flew home. Amin was humiliated. He reportedly had Ugandan soldiers executed for failing to stop the raid. He also ordered the murder of Dora Bloch, a 74-year-old Israeli woman in a Ugandan hospital. She was dragged from her bed and killed. The world was no longer laughing. By 1978, Amin's grip was slipping. In a desperate move, he invaded neighboring Tanzania. Tanzanian President Julius Nyerere launched a full counter-invasion. Amin's army collapsed. On April 11, 1979, Tanzanian forces and Ugandan rebels entered Kampala. Amin fled. Libya, then Iraq, then Saudi Arabia, where he lived in comfortable exile in Jeddah until his death. He never faced trial. He died on August 16, 2003, peacefully, surrounded by family. 500,000 Ugandans did not get that luxury. Idi Amin is one of history's most unsettling figures precisely because he was not a simple monster. He was charming, he was funny, he was physically impressive. He gave voice to genuine frustrations about colonialism and inequality. Early in his rule, some of his policies genuinely helped ordinary people. And then, he killed hundreds of thousands of them. That is the real horror. Not that evil wears a recognizable face, but that it often wears a likable one. History is full of leaders who started with a crowd's applause and ended with a nation's graves. Amin is the extreme version of a pattern that repeats. The lesson is not just to watch for cruelty, it is to watch for the charm that precedes it. If this story made you think, hit subscribe. There's a lot more history on this channel that's stranger, darker, and more relevant than anything in the headlines. And if you want to go deeper, check out our next video, because the past is still trying to warn us. We just have to listen.